The secret to success is getting hit by a cab. Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Mr. David Lorenzo, author of The 60-Second Sale. And the more I dug into this, reading the book, going through my notes after our interview, I realized how similar, how much this aligns with my make every sale concept, as he's talking about how there's a bunch of little bitty sales that continuously are being made as you engage with your prospects. So you are in for a treat. I've got his book here on my desk. It's very good. He's a good dude. You're going to like his story. We get right into what getting hit by a cab does to one's life and outlook on life. So you are in for a treat. As I record this, doing the intro just before I leave for Europe. So you'll be listening to this. I'll already be in London and with my son, and then I'll be heading to Slovenia at the end of the week, delivering a keynote there one day, then a breakout session the next. So say hello to me overseas when you get this. Let me know you're listening, all right? Say, hey, what's up? I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you are getting ready for Christmas. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and get ready to do it all over again. I wrote a blog post, and we covered it 2 weeks ago in the Make Every Sale course, where I talk about handling the biggest stall of the fall. You're now getting these. Call me after Thanksgiving, call me after the New Year, call me after the holidays. You can't put up with that. You know it's coming. Go find my blog post. Just hit the search bar on the top, the little magnifying glass, and just type in stall or stall of the fall, and you'll find that blog post. I give exact verbiage that you can use to overcome those objections. Sometimes they're real. Most of the time they're just a blow-off, but regardless, you need to know how to handle them and how to front-end load your calendar come January so you hit the ground running. And sometimes this means you're going to have to say no to some deals. You're going to have to scratch some people off of your pipeline. They're just blowing you off because they don't have the guts to tell you no, and you don't have the guts to press for a no. Hearing no early is a win. Keeping these stragglers and hanging on forever is a loss. You're a loser if you're doing that, okay? Straight, and just drop the cat in the punch bowl. Be a professional. Be a winner. Fill your pipeline with mutually agreed upon agendas, mutually agreed upon firm appointments where all decision makers will be present, okay? With people that have a pain, that have admitted and recognized that pain, have quantified that pain, or at least are willing to have a conversation to qualify that pain, to monetize it and take action this month, this quarter, right? Not some esoteric time in the future. You've got to be clear on that. You have to have those tough conversations. You have to be willing for someone to say, you're right, this is not a priority for us. You can take us off your list. That means you're going to have a sparse pipeline, but at least you know what you got to do. Okay? Just like they say, in AA, when you get up and stand up and admit that you have a problem, you're 50% cured. You have a pipeline problem. All right? Clear those dead branches, the dead wood, get rid of them. And go get people that want to do business with you. If you don't know how to do that, come join the Make Every Sale group. I will show you how to do that. That is all I have done since 1997 to put food on the table for a family of 9. It's sales. It's marketing. It's entrepreneurship. It's blogging. It's SEO. It's book writing. It's online courses. It's all the above. All right, I've kissed those frogs for you. Let me shorten your learning curve by 5 or 10 or 15 years. Okay, for a super affordable price with a guarantee for a year. MakeEverySale.com. Come hang out. Let me help you make every sale. Now let's bring on David. We'll talk about the 60-second sale. Dave Lorenzo, a man after my own heart, author of the 60-second sale, all the way from Miami, Florida. Welcome to Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
Thanks, Wes. Great to be here. I am fantastic.
Very nice. So we got some bonuses for our listeners, so we'll share those towards the end. But you are a sales trainer with much better contacts than me, man. You got a book here from Wiley. I'm too dang impatient. I just write stuff and throw it out there. How did you get started in sales? Why the heck should people listen to you, huh?
That's the first thing that goes through everybody's mind whenever they see me. Who is this guy and why should people listen to me? I'll tell you, whenever I take to the stage, I tell this story. I've built a couple of businesses. One of the businesses I built was a consulting business for Gallup. People know the Gallup poll. I worked for their consulting division. And in building that business, I had a great client that was a pharmaceutical company. And Wes, I'll tell you, I was working with a team of fantastic consultants. We were due to present results in December. And the CEO's office called me and they said, listen, the CEO is going to be in China when you're scheduled to deliver your presentation. I know it's a few weeks away. Can you come over and do something for him now? Now, I had nothing, right? I had data. I had some recommendations, but he was my best client. I had plans that day to go have lunch with my fiance, who would soon be my wife. And I immediately said, yes, of course, I'll cancel my plans and come over. So I dropped what I was doing. I put some stuff in a folder, got in the elevator, went downstairs in my building in Manhattan, got out to 6th Avenue, walked. It was 8 blocks, short walk to where I was going. Got to the crosswalk of 6th Avenue and 43rd Street, and bam, I got struck by a taxi cab. Now, I don't remember that part of it. What I remember next is waking up, being pushed down the hall of St. Vincent's Hospital, strapped to a backboard on a gurney. And I had no feeling from my armpits down. What I was thinking to myself is probably what everybody else does. Regardless of who you believe in or what your belief system is, if you believe there's anything that has to do with a creator, you make a bargain. And you say, I promise, if you let me out of this, if things can just be back to normal, if I get a second chance, I'm going to do anything I can to rearrange my business and my life so that it is exactly the way I want it to be, and so that I can take control. And, we're on a podcast now. People are listening, so they can't see what I'm doing, but I am perfectly capable of moving. I have 2 wonderful children. Everything on my body works, and it's important to me that the listeners know that everything works. But the reason I think it makes sense to have this conversation, the reason I think sales folks will want to have this conversation with me is because all of us want control of our future. And that's what sales gives you. And so that's why I learned to sell. That's why I developed my system for selling so that I could take control of my future. Now I have my own business. I do as well as I want to do. I can control. I'm recording this with you today in my home, in an office, in a studio that I created for myself, because I can develop relationships. And to me, that's what sales is all about. So who is this guy and why should I listen? Well, I think it makes sense for us to have the conversation because everybody listening wants to be able to control their future.
No, wait a minute. You're saying if I get hit by a taxi cab, all my stuff's going to work? Man, I'm so broken down.
I'm telling you, I will come over there and hit you with a car right now, Wes. I'll run you right over so you can take control of your future.
I'm switching to my iPhone. We're going to continue this interview, and I'm going to go play in traffic, man.
No, what I'm saying is it doesn't need to take getting hit by a cab, Wes. You don't have to get hit by a cab. All you need to do is learn how to develop relationships in a way that's comfortable for you, in a way that leverages your strengths. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, relationships, whatever, man. Are you one of those mamby-pamby guys? I got to send flowers and hold their hands and whisper sweet nothing to them. Come on, I want to shut them down, man. I'm going to close that sale. I'll alter the choice. Come on. Are you saying that doesn't work?
If it works for you, keep doing what's working. I would never tell you to stop doing something that's working, but I'll tell you one thing that I know for sure. Making 150, 200 cold calls a day, that's like walking into a meat grinder. That's a good way to get beat up. I would rather call everybody I know, see how they're doing, and talk about the value that I can provide after I see what I can do for them. Because if I can deliver value for them, they're going to want to kill themselves introducing me to people who can deliver value for me. That's my way of doing it. And I've made 150 cold calls in a day, and I would much rather talk to 25 or 30 people who really know me, like me, and trust me, and help them out. And in return, have them say, oh, and by the way, I wanted to introduce you to this guy. I'm sure he's going to be a great client for you.
All right. So the subheading of your book is the ultimate system for building lifelong client relationships in the blink of an eye.
Right.
So I want to work backwards on that. So the blink of an eye, can it really be done that quickly?
So this is the best question that you could possibly ask me. This is a question I get all the time. How can I sell something in 60 seconds? I've never sold that. People say, no, I've never sold anything in 60 seconds. That's crazy. You can't sell a pen in 60 seconds. So here's the deal. If you called up your best client right now and you said to your best client, hey, how's it going? What's new? What's exciting? What's happening? What are you struggling with? What's keeping you up? What bothers you? And they told you, right? They trusted you enough to tell you. If you had a solution for that problem and you went over to his business or to his house or to wherever he was and you solved that problem for him and you said it's going to be $50, he'd give you the $50 in less than a minute. But the conditions have to be right for that to happen. So the 60-second sale occurs if you create the environment where you've got a relationship with someone and they trust you and you can deliver value for them. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Obviously, I mean, like anything, there's nuances, right? Because it's going to take longer than 60 seconds to build that trust. But once it's built, the sale is easy.
Agreed. That's the 60-second sale right there. Build the trust, develop the relationship. Now, here's the really interesting thing. If you were just starting out, you didn't know how to sell, and you were 25 years old or 30 years old, and you sat down with me, the first thing I would have you do is I would say, let's go through your contacts file, and let's make a list of everybody you know. And we'd look at that, we'd make the list. And I would ask you how you knew those people. You'd know people from high school. You might know people from college. If you went to grad school, you'd know people from grad school. You'd know people from the different jobs you had. You'd know people you played football with. You'd make a list with all these people on there. Then you'd have all this contact information. And if I said, give me the people, if you were getting married today, you'd invite to your wedding. You'd probably invite, if you had the money, you'd invite 150, 200 people to your wedding. We'd look at those 200 people and I'd say, tell me, write down right next to their names, everything you know about them, what they do, who's in their family, what's most important for them, what their personal goals are. 90% of the people, you wouldn't be able to answer those questions. So what I tell you to do is I tell you to get on the phone and start talking to people and find out what's going on in their lives and find out what their personal goals are. And then I would tell you either to make connections that could help them achieve those personal goals, or I would tell you to see if you could help them achieve those personal goals yourself. Now, what you're doing is demonstrating an external orientation. You're showing them that you're interested in helping them. You're demonstrating it before you ask for anything. What that does is it makes you non-threatening and it develops an environment of trust. Then when they say to you, so Dave, you're really interested in helping me. You're going to connect me to your editor at Wiley and you're going to help me pitch my book idea. What can I do for you? Then the door is open for me to say, well, I know you work for this company. I've been trying to get in there for a while. Let's talk about how we can work together to introduce me to that person. That's how you develop an environment of trust. And once you develop that environment of trust, it makes the sale that much easier.
So initially, that prospect is not going to trust you. They're going to say, okay, dude, this sounds too good to be true.
You got to demonstrate it. You got to show them. You can't just tell them. You got to show them.
Okay. Now, next step, building lifelong client relationships. Most salespeople, I know I was certainly this way in the beginning. I was a hunter-killer. I did not want to talk about the weather. I did not want to hold your hand after I made the sale. I wanted to go to the next big deal I could close. It was the thrill of the chase, right?
Mm-hmm.
How should I have changed? I mean, should the hunter killers be building these relationships? Should they have a team that maybe helps build the relationships so they can go out and close the next deal? How do you balance that?
Well, so there's a couple of different ways of looking at it. I'll give you both. The first is you have to understand that there's 4 different types of revenue, right? Your hunter killer is out there looking for what I call ad hoc revenue. So you find somebody who needs what you have to offer. It's going to solve their problem. It's going to deliver great value. Boom, you close the deal and you move on to the next one. That's ad hoc revenue. Sell, close the deal with one client, move on to the next one, right? If that company can use more of your product or service, but they use the same product or service over and over again, maybe they call you over and over again if they remember who you are for that same product or service. And that's recurring revenue. That's great for you because you put in no effort and they call you for that same product or service. You don't need a ton of new trust in order to do that because they're already getting that product or service. They're happy with it. So you just call and fill the order. That's fine. If you can develop a little bit more trust, you can go out and perhaps sell a different product or service that your company has and deepen that relationship. It makes it much harder for them to disconnect from you over the long term. For example, I work with a company that does payroll processing, but they also do credit card processing. We found that if we can help the sales reps get in there with both payroll and card processing, it's impossible, virtually impossible for that client to unplug from them completely, and they get paid their residuals forever and ever. The fourth type, Wes, the fourth type of revenue is what I call relationship revenue. That's when you keep in touch with these people forever, you continue to deliver value forever, and then they call you for needs within and outside of the services you provide. And then when you need more money, you can call that person and say, hey, guess what? Our company has a special on this great new product. I need you to try it. It's right in your wheelhouse. I guarantee you the ROI is going to be spectacular. And they say, Wes, listen, you've done so much. You've solved so many problems for me. I'm going to give this a shot sight unseen because I know that you would never put our relationship on the line unless you truly believed in this. And that's the thing, Wes. The second part of this is the income on demand proposition that comes from relationships. So you look at my business right now, or even your business right now. You want an extra $20,000. All you need to do is call 100 of your current clients, ask them what their biggest problem is, offer to solve a problem in a one-day seminar with them where you teach them how to solve that problem. And guess what? 20 out of the 100, because they trust you, are going to say yes, and they're going to give you the $1,000 to come to that seminar. So that's the second part of this. Income on demand can come from relationships because when you're 2 or 3 sales short of making your quota, or you have an income goal that you want to achieve, all you need to do is reach out to those people who already know you, like you, and trust you, and that relationship will carry the day for you. It's much easier to close that deal. So those 4 types of revenue, the hunter killer is out looking for that ad hoc revenue. You're always going to need that. You're always going to need to spend 1/3 to 1/4 of your time looking for new relationships. But if you spend 3/4 of your time deepening relationships, the income on demand is so sexy, it's so seductive that you won't want to do anything else.
Very interesting. Now, what if you have, though, or if you got a top performer and they're not a relationship person? Should you try to change them? Should you augment them? Yeah. Give them an inside salesperson or a support person and just let them keep doing their thing? You know, what do you do with those super aggressive types?
So my advice, yeah, great question. My advice to sales managers out there, if you've got a top performer, you don't change what's working, okay? What you need to do is you need to remove as many barriers as you possibly can from them help them get in front of as many people as they possibly can. What you can do is you can offer them options to how they can perform their service even better. So what I would do with a top performer who is a hunter is I would pair him with somebody who is a great farmer, and whether they be an inside salesperson or they like to go out and do face-to-face relationship development, as long as it didn't threaten that hunter in any way, as long as the hunter was comfortable with the person, I would let them have their own relationship development person who could find them more leads within existing companies. So now this is the key, all right? For anybody listening out there who's a sales manager, don't screw up your top performers, okay? If they're top performers, the one thing you can do to screw everything up is to try and change them. So if they have strengths and their strength is going out and finding the new multi-million-dollar deal, God bless them, let them keep going and doing that. Ask them what you can do for them to help them develop more relationships. And I'll be willing to bet that they would know exactly what the answer is. And the answer may be somebody they worked with at another company, bring that person over to talk to their clients on the phone and hold their hand over the long term.
Look, I'm the manager. I just went to this great conference. You're going to do it my way. You understand? It's my way or the highway. You change right now.
So you should be fired, and that's not how you manage. That's
Dude,
how you
get fired on my own podcast. This is nonsense. Who the heck do you think you are, man?
I'll tell you the biggest detriment to sales increases that I've seen is sales managers.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? I know. Yeah,
What
we
do
don't
we
quit
do?
companies. We quit managers. And I've
We
quit quite
take
a
the
few
best salesperson. Yeah, we take the best salesperson and we make him a manager. And that guy's miserable and he's making everybody else miserable. It's just awful.
It's crazy. And it happens over and over. But please, if you're listening to this in your management, don't stop. Because, Dave and I, we need a job. And if y'all change and start acting right, we'll have no one to train. So just keep being a dummy, okay?
Bring us in to help you herd the cats. That's what we do.
But I digress. Oh, man. So we talk about working the phones, and nobody likes working the phones. But, I mean, in B2B, it does still work.
Sure.
So, you list here one of the questions or talking points, who to target for immediate income and how to start a sales conversation in 60 seconds. So lay that wisdom on me, pretty please.
Okay. So what's one of the challenges you face with the podcast? What is one of the biggest issues you face here?
It's always distribution and growth. Want more listeners.
Right. So if I could connect you, would it be valuable for me to connect you with somebody who had a list of like 30,000 people who could recommend your podcast and get them to click on the links on iTunes and Stitcher and all those other places? That'd probably be pretty valuable for you, right?
Hey, your staff told me you were like best friends with Oprah.
So exactly. I don't know about Oprah's ability to distribute stuff right now, but if I had somebody who had that kind of reach in our space and I connected you to them, that would be really valuable. So if I wanted to sell something to you, what I would do first is I would say, Wes, I appreciate you having me on. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach out to my buddy, Joe Polish. He's got a list of probably 20,000 high profile entrepreneurs he communicates with like 3 times a week. They buy everything he recommends. I'm going to tell him to listen to your podcast. I'm going to tell him that he needs to do an interview with you on his I Love Marketing podcast. And if he does that, he'll put the link in the notes to this show. And those people will definitely click on the link. Some of them anyway, if he tells them to, will click on the link and you'll grow your subscriber base. Now, if I did that, you'd think to yourself, wow, Dave's a pretty good guy. He's really willing to go out of his way for me. Once I delivered on that commitment, if I called you later on and I said, hey, Wes, listen, if you know anybody at Vistage, I want to become a Vistage speaker, I'd really appreciate an introduction. You'd probably be willing to make that introduction because I delivered something of value to you first. So that's how we do it. I mean, one of the things I do every single day, this is what I do and I tell my clients to do, is I look through my list of people who I've connected with over the years, and I try and pair people up and make connections for them as a way to deliver value. I spend 2 hours every morning on the phone just calling people, seeing who I can connect to one another, seeing how I can deliver value to them. And the reason I do it is because money then, I'm not even kidding you, just falls out of the sky. People just call me up and they say, hey, by the way, Wes recommended that I call you. He said you were a great guest on the podcast. He also said that you introduced him to some really cool people. I think you'd be a great speaker at my conference. Wes spoke at it last year. He's not going to be able to speak this year. He's recommended you. It happens all the time. And there are some days when I deliver value to 5 people and nobody calls me. And then there are other times when people call me 3-4 times a week, and I'm just amazed at how people give back. So delivering value first is a great formula for success. And you're also keeping in touch with people who are qualified, either prospects or clients.
Wait a minute. I thought you were going to tell me about like some pixel that goes to an API that goes to a fax broadcast that makes money fall from the sky.
So there's got to be something out there like that. I haven't discovered it yet. I'm more of a hands-on relationship guy, but I'm sure there's something out there like that. I'm sure we can find somebody.
All right. So I actually have to pick up the phone and talk to somebody?
You got to pick up the phone. You got to talk to somebody, but I promise you, you don't have to talk to anybody you don't like. That's the beauty of this system. There are a lot of people out there who you connect with, who you like, and they like you. The conversations are more relaxed. They're very cordial. And all you got to do is ask them. They already trust you. Just ask them how you can help them. And guess what? You're making money.
I don't have to talk about the weather, do I?
No, nobody wants to talk about the weather. You may have to talk about something that you have in common. So if you're both fans of the same football team, or even better, if you're fans of rival football teams, you can talk about that.
That is true. I can talk some college football smack.
There you go.
Speaking of which, I mean, my LSU Tigers did beat your Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, the Canes! I know, it's all about
the beginning of the season. I wasn't going to bring it up, but you brought it up. So
that was awful.
Define awful. I mean, I think we have a different vantage point of this.
Yeah, it was. Imagine walking around all week that week with everybody going, "Did you see the Canes? Oh my God!" It was a bad week to be in Miami. I wish I was on the road that week.
Oh man! And now my Tigers beat Georgia. It's all good. We shall see, though. Things change every week in college football. That's why I love it.
Well, and with the playoff system now, as long as you make the tournament, you got a chance.
Oh yeah, it needs to be at least 8 teams, though. But hey,
I know. I would love to see it get to 8. Yes.
So we're getting there. Okay, so that's if you have an existing relationship, right? You're calling people you already know, people that know, like, and trust you. But what about creating that relationship in the first place? That's where I know people struggle. Especially in sales, is getting the foot in the door.
So every salesperson needs to have the mindset that they have the ability to solve problems. They need to approach sales as almost as a consultant. And what would you do if you were a consultant? Well, what you would do is you would analyze who your best clients are, and you'd go find more people who are exactly like them. So I have in the book, I have this thing called the IRT 21. It's a 21 question assessment. We don't need to get into the 21 questions. I don't want to get deep in the weeds. I'll give you 2 things to look for. 2 things I would look for related to my best client right now is I would look for where they go, right? What conventions do they go to? What groups do they belong to? And what do they read? What websites are they on all the time? Where are they getting their information? And the reason I would go to those 2 places is because every sales professional has to either be a great speaker, or they have to be a good networker, or they have to be able to write articles that will help people solve problems. So if you know those 2 things, where people go and what they read, you can, as a sales professional, become a consultant and even an expert by doing what you and I do, by writing articles, by giving talks. You start out as a sales professional, you could start out by giving talks to local groups that look just like your best clients for free. So, for example, if you sell to the insurance industry, there's NAIFA, which is the National Association of Independent Financial Advisors, right? They have chapters everywhere. You can call up your local NAIFA chapter director. It's right on the website, and say, "Hey, listen, I got this great talk I'd like to give about how you can, reduce your liability and save on your professional liability insurance, or 15 ways your office automation can make life easier while you're on the road selling insurance." The NAIFA chapter directors will be thrilled because it's one less speaker they have to look to book. And you go and you get to deliver valuable content, and people see you and you enhance your credibility. Now, Wes, here's the real trick to doing that, right? You're a sales professional. You give a talk. It's 100% value. You're not selling anything. And at the end of the talk, you say, "Listen, I've only had 30 minutes with you today, I can't cover everything in 30 minutes. What I've got is a free report for you that covers the 5 things I couldn't cover in my talk. You pass me your business card, and I'll be happy to get this to you right away. We'll email it to you. You get business cards from 15 people. Guess what you've got in your hand? You've got 15 prospects in your hand that you can call the very next day and set an appointment with and deliver that report, but also sell them something. So if I was starting out and I had no relationships, that's exactly what I would do. I would make myself an expert on my industry, and I'd give industry-related talks to people who are just like my best clients or the people who I would perceive to be my best clients.
So are people becoming jaded to that, the free report, or, is it still working, or are there other ways around it, or, to entice someone to provide their contact info?
I'll give you a number of things you could offer that are phenomenally valuable that people still go for. Everybody still likes the free report, but if you don't want to do a free report, you can go online, do 3 YouTube videos and make them private, and that's your course on how to do X, Y, and Z. And you put that in an email system through Constant Contact or iContact or whatever, Infusion, whatever your CRM system is, and you have that delivered over 3 days or 5 days or however long you want, and you can offer them access to your course, and it's you giving them value. So the video course still works. You could offer a checklist or a calculator. I have right now, and you're never going to believe that this works, but it's working right now for a family law attorney I worked with years ago. She offers a child support calculator to CPAs and accountants when she does these talks, and they go nuts for it. CPAs and accountants go nuts for this calculator that helps calculate child support. So when their clients come to them and they say, I'm getting divorced, I want to know how much it's going to cost me, they can figure out the child support, and they can tell them, you need to stay married. It's wonderful. So there's a whole host of things you can give away as a free giveaway. I call those honeypots. People have been doing it forever. It works. The stuff that has always worked is still working.
All right. Now I see here you say there's a secret to getting a yes in every business meeting. Are you kidding me?
Nope. Not kidding. And the secret is, this is, I almost get embarrassed when I talk about this because it's so obvious. And when I demonstrate this to audiences, when I'm out speaking, or when I talk to a client about it, they say, is it really that simple? Wes, yes or no options are awful, because half the time you get people who give you the less than perfect answer, right? Oftentimes you're going to negotiate a deal anyway, and the number you throw out or the term you throw out is just a starting point. So let's not do that. Let's start off by giving the client 2 or 3 options right from the beginning. Give the client 2 or 3 options right from the beginning. And I'm a big fan of saying to the client, hey, listen, I don't know what amount you wanted to pay for the solution is. I know what the value of the solution is. So I'm going to tell you straight up right now, when we get to that point in the process, I'm going to tell you straight up what the value of this is. And if it doesn't work for you, there are other options. So here are the 3 options that I've prepared. And, we talked about a budget in the beginning. You gave me a number. I'm sure that's not the real number because people never give me the real number. So here are the 3 options. And you give them option 1, option 2, and option 3. Each option has varying value. Each option has varying investment levels. And one of those will probably be within their budget range, but they probably won't be happy with it because it doesn't offer the value that they were looking for. So now you've got 3 options out there, and they end up breaking down the barriers and telling you what's really important so you can craft an option for them that really works. So here's the thing, Wes. We're at this point where I'm giving you options. The only reason we're there is because you're qualified in the first place. I wouldn't be sitting across from you unless you were qualified, right? So I did work ahead of time to get into that meeting. The work I did ahead of time made sure you had the money to be able to afford my services, a problem I could solve for you, and the ability to make a decision. So now when I'm sitting across from you, I offer you these options. One of them is right in your wheelhouse from a value perspective, and we just have to figure out how you're going to pay for it.
Interesting. And it's possible, though, to give them too many options, right?
Yeah. I always limit it to 3. I would never give anybody more than 3 options, because then they get paralysis, because they don't know. They get paralysis because of FOMO, the fear of missing out on something, right? So I give them 3 options, and I always make sure the value is commensurate with the investment level. So if you want all the bells and whistles, then that's the highest investment level. If you only need the bare bones service, that's the lowest investment level. And there's always something in the middle that is, that makes you feel like you wish you had gone for more, but you didn't. And my experience is when the thing in the middle takes away just enough to make them want that little bit of extra, they go find the budget to go for the top option.
Right. Yeah, because the assumption, though, is that you've uncovered, there has to be some dialogue, right? I mean, you've done the research, because they could still say no, but at that point, now they're playing some games, or there's something that maybe we don't know.
Right.
And
a good sales professional will go into that meeting after qualifying the client, and they'll say, "Listen, I'm flying to Dallas from Miami. I'm coming to your office, and the reason I'm coming is because I want to write you the prescription for success. So here's how the meeting is going to go," right? And this is taught in every sales program. So I'm not revealing anything new here. I'm not showing fire to cavemen. Before you get to that meeting, you're on the phone with the prospect. You say, "I'm coming over Thursday. Here's how the meeting is going to go." We're at this point in the process where I have 90% of your needs written down. You just want to walk me through your shop, show me how things will work. You're going to ask me questions. I know that. And when we get to the point where we start to talk turkey, dollars and cents, I want to see your operation to make sure that I have exactly what you need. But when we get to the point where we start talking dollars and cents, if I have something that's within your budget, we're going to be able to make a deal, right? And then you say yes, so I know I'm not coming over there to waste my time. And then when I get there, we're talking about solutions to your problem and what the investment is going to be for you to get this solution. At that point, something has to come dramatically off the rails. Like, you have to ask for the moon, and I can't be able to deliver it. I've had so many conversations with you, 2 or 3 conversations by this point. There's trust there. That I'm as close to my bottom line dollar as I can be in order to provide you with the value you want. So we're pretty much set that we're gonna come to a deal. We just don't know what the final dollar amount is. That's just being a really good diagnostic salesperson. Right. If you go to that meeting without getting to that point and you get a no, then that's on you. That's not on the prospect. You should have done your homework up front. And candidly, you have to be candid. You got to be straight with the client and say, "Look, I'm flying all the way to Dallas. We should be at the 10-yard line, ready to punch it into the end zone here. You're going to get a great value, and we're going to talk about the investment level that's fair. We know it's going to be within this range. I'm cool with that. Are you cool with that? If I come over there, we talk about this, and we wrap this up while we're in your office." If they say no, don't go. It's right. just that simple. Most salespeople don't have that level of confidence to have that conversation in advance, though. You got to have that conversation. You can't go to that meeting wondering if the deal's going to close.
Yeah. Well, and they do, though. They show up with no agenda. They leave not knowing what the next steps are.
Right.
Are they just afraid of being told no? Do they not know how to really dig in?
Yeah.
To set a good meeting?
Well, I like to think of it as less fear, more just lack of confidence. So if you were super busy and your pipeline was full, you had a book of business that was really difficult for you to manage, so that you had to hire an assistant to take some customer service calls, and you just were killing it. What you would do is you would cut the BS and have this conversation, because it would be out of necessity. You couldn't afford to go to a meeting where the close was uncertain, right? You just couldn't afford to do that. You would only go to business meetings where you knew you were going to get a yes. It was just what degree. Were they going to go for option 2, or were they going to go for option 3? Well, you got to get salespeople to put themselves in that place now. If you want to be that person, if you want to be that woman, that guy who's killing it, you got to have those conversations right now. Because there's two things that happen when you have that conversation from that level of confidence. The first thing that happens is it rubs off. A person on the other end of the phone or a person on the video conference or people who see you speak know that you have that level of confidence because you're so successful and you're a no-nonsense person. Right? That's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is you get more yeses because you're forcing people to give you answers, and the no's don't get meetings. I mean, yeah, that's just the way it goes. You're too busy to deal with people who are going to waste your time, so you don't let them do it. So put yourself in the position where you want to be 6 months or a year or 10 years from now. Be the no BS guy who doesn't take meetings with people who are fooling around. Just do it right now. Wes, there's two ways to go broke, right? The first way to go broke is killing yourself, going to crappy meetings where people never give you answers. The second way to go broke is sitting on your couch eating potato chips. I'd much rather have my salespeople sitting on a couch eating potato chips going broke than killing themselves. But even better than that is have your salespeople killing it, making money by going to meetings that are going to lead to something.
Right. Amen. And that leads us to the conclusion. Where should we be sending people to learn more about you? And you've got a little bonus as well on your book, right?
Big bonus. So go to greatsalesbook.com, just like it sounds, and you can pick up a copy of the 60-second sale for a ridiculously low price of $10. And you'll get a second book as a bonus. I'll give you the book I wrote in 2006, Career Intensity, Business Strategy for Workplace Warriors and Entrepreneurs, as a bonus. I'm even covering the shipping. I'm getting killed on this, and the reason I'm doing it is because I want to develop a relationship with the person who's listening right now, who heard something they liked here. I want you to get the 60-second sale. I want you to devour it. You don't even have to read the whole thing. Just go to right in the beginning of the book. There's 25 actionable items. Go read that. Pick one. Make yourself some money. Go pick another one. Do that. $10, greatsalesbook.com. That's where you can get the 60-second sale with the bonus offer just for Wes and the people who are listening to this podcast right now. If you want more free stuff, go to davelorenzo.com. There's 300 videos on there. You can watch me making a fool of myself, teaching you a lesson. There's articles. There's pictures of my kids. There's pictures of my house. I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff up there.
Well, they won't want to watch it after they see my video of getting hit by a car. So
I'm driving down your street in 10 minutes. I'm gonna run you down so that you can make more money than you ever dreamed of.
Okay, I'm coming to Miami. I want you to hit me exact same way he hit you. All right.
Amen.
I got kids to feed, man. You got to make this work. Very nice. Dave Lorenzo, all the way from Miami, author of, we got to get this whole thing in because, man, I feel bad leaving off the subtitle. Oh, we didn't even talk about systems. So y'all got to get the book to learn about systems because you got to stop winging it, people. That's what rookies do. But it's the 60-second sale, the ultimate system for building lifelong client relationships in the blink of an eye. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been fantastic.
Wes, you're the man. Thank you for having me.
Well, you heard it from the man himself, that I'm the man. Now I'm going to go play this for my kids and remind them that their dad is somebody, okay? I'm good enough, and doggone it, people like me. Hey, I hope you got a lot out of that. I love the story. You know, there are a lot of people with interesting backgrounds, interesting histories. You know, I had, golly, it's been a little while now. I think it was another Dave. Let me pull him up. David Nagel sucked through a dam at age 23. Now he lives to help you. So I had him on the podcast way back May 9th, 2016. Go look up that episode. It was number 190. So that was quite a ways back, but a great story. So it seems like I have a proclivity to have Davids who survived near-death experiences and became authors, speakers, consultants on the podcast. Interesting. Didn't even know that was going on until I just mentioned it. But, going through something traumatic like that and living through it, hey, that's a cool thing. Are you doing something with it? You don't have to wait to have something that dramatic, that traumatic happen in your life. You can literally flip the switch anytime you want to shift your direction, your focus, your energy. Maybe this podcast is it, okay? But you need to figure out how to sell, because everything is sales. Relationship with your spouse, with your kids, with your parents, with your boss, with your coworkers, with your vendors, okay? Your relationship with people at the gym, anywhere you run across, the waiter and waitresses, the checkout clerk at the grocery store. It's all a sale. How you engage is a sale. So, do you even know how you come across? Do you recognize how you're being perceived? That's what I'm discussing. It's one of my keynotes in Slovenia. I'm covering that. How is the game played? Do you even know what the game is? You know, they say in poker, if you don't know who the sucker is, it's you. There's a game. It happens. It's going on right now. You're in it. It's called life. So you can accept it and put forth the effort to master it and win, or let the cards fall where they may and just kind of wing it. Okay? If you need help getting through this, understanding it, mastering it, accelerating your growth, accelerating the mastery in this game of life, game of business, come join us. All right? MakeEverySale.com. I've got to head over to a private consulting call with a client right now. If you need that, let me know. It's on my website under the products. There's a private coaching link to apply. I only work with a few at a time because it is time consuming. It's 90 days. It's not cheap, but it is affordable. It's reassuringly expensive. Check that out. That'll also help you make every sale because you get a membership in the Make Every Sale course with that. So check that out as well. Thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.